everybody, and welcome to the October 4th Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Eric Donovan.
We have some races to bring you from 2 weeks ago and from the most recent week here at Belmont Park, since we didn't do a Trips and Traps last week. So let's get started with the older races first. We'll go back to September 19th, race number 8, a 30-25 claimer going 6. King Rock, the horse we're looking at here. If there's a blooper reel for worst rides of the year, this one might be on it.
Yeah, this was one that for a bug rider that things just didn't work out, and hopefully be a learning experience for a bug rider, to be fair, who's been very good most of all the time when he's ridden here. I think that he just... to me, it's a little bit, he's kind of loose position here. I don't mind that the horse, he's sort of letting horses get in front of him, because ultimately he still would have won the race as he sort of drops back. It's the decision after this to sort of overthink it. He's a rider that's constantly thinking about being on the rail, too much committing the rail, something that really doesn't matter that much at Belmont Park, to be honest with you. And right about here, he's in about the 2 or 3 path, and it feels like instead of just instinctually riding and maintaining your position out here and getting yourself to this spot, he's thinking, I want to go to that spot. I don't know why, but he gets totally caught behind horses, Eric.
He gets caught behind horses, and the other horses that are behind him are coming up outside of him too, so he's got no way out, and steady hard here and basically lose all chance, but still actually manage to get back into the race once he's clear late in the stages of the race and put in a decent little run to be beaten only 3.5 here.
And here he is getting completely steady behind horses. What non-existent holes is he trying to make there? You've got to put yourself in a position where you don't have to go through holes. You don't have to have things break for you. And here he goes. He's just taking off and running. This poor horse went out to clear on the turn, King Rock, and he was going to win this race. And he might have won it relatively easily. Unfortunate decisions. King Rock, he's had 2 races since claimed by Rudy Rodriguez. One where he was maybe ultimately too close to pace in Saratoga, in a race that collapsed, and he ran 4th, and he ran well. And then this race, does he have another good one in him, Eric?
Well, maybe he does. I'll give Rudy the benefit of the doubt that he does have another good one in him. We shall see, though. We'll move on to our next race. This one from September 20th. It's race number 9, a maiden special weight for 2-year-olds. New York breds going 6 furlongs on the inner turf.
Just going to show you the backstretch, the pan, and the head of a first-time star named Group Therapy. A John Kimmel first, the John Velasquez riding. You see in those familiar Broman green silks. You see Johnny sort of taking a hold there. And it's one of these situations where I think things just never went the right way for Johnny. He didn't want to get too wrapped up being too close to pace, which I think he ultimately was kind of right about as the race came apart towards the end. But this horse is between horses the whole way, never has a chance to run, and he just gets sort of shuffled out the whole running.
Yeah, for a first-time starter, it seemed like maybe he was just, a little bit green too, but certainly being in between horses in traffic doesn't help either, and we'll take a look at the head on now.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to show you the stretch because he just finished well back, but this is a horse that took real money in here, went off under 6-1 in here, and there were a number of horses. The first 3 finishes, I think, were all 5-2 around, or 3-1, and I just feel like this horse, he was never had a chance to do any running. Now, I don't know that he could run, but I know that he's likely a better horse than his finish will show here. And I don't know what kind of running line he gets it here, Group Therapy. It says there's no trouble line at all, and it's not that he has trouble, but he never has a fair chance to run. And for my money, Group Therapy gets in a race next time. Give this horse an extra look.
I agree. No trouble line in a running line where he's 8th, 10th, 10th, and 8th throughout the running of the race. So nothing in that running line is going to give you, make you going to look at it twice.
I agree. There's no impetus. There's nothing that says steady. There's nothing that trouble people will see. And it's not overt trouble. But this is a horse that never had a chance to do a stitch of running. And he got bet.
We'll move on to next week and take a look at the 7th race from September 26th. Maiden special weight for 3-year-olds, enough going 1 mile on the main track. We've seen it a lot before. Horses like the one Cape Glory who break from the inside post where there's that gap, and they duck into that gap there, and that really costs them 3 or 4 lengths.
Like Richie Migliore likes to say, horses go towards open spaces. And Cape Glory, you'll see it when you watch the pan as he drops back, but you really need to watch the head on to get the full effect of what actually happens there as he drops back. Now, he was favored. In fact, play over bet at 7-5, to be perfectly honest, but he was badly compromised. Not only was the rail the place to be, but this was an extraordinarily slow pace, 23-3, 48-1. When you see that kind of slow second quarter going a route at Belmont Park, where the second quarter is usually much faster than the first quarter, you know they're absolutely crawling. And poor Group there, Cape Glory after that, he never has a fair chance, Eric.
Never has a fair chance. Gets steadied along down inside here, just can't get through. And if you had to think that if he broke well and didn't duck in at the start, he'd be up in the the leading flight of horses down on the inside. Well, at some point here, coming up soon, Javier Javier Castellano is going to switch Cape Glory to the outside here, right about here. After that pack of horses goes by him, he's going to switch to the outside for a clear run. And at this point, it's basically Ocean Road.
I just feel like Javier knew that he was between a rock and a hard place once the horse did the break. That he probably sensed they weren't going very fast. What else was he going to do? The field got bunched. He had an inside post. It's why inside post can get you in trouble in races. If you're not breaking cleanly, the race dictates what you do instead of you dictating what the race does.
Yeah, indeed. And there goes Cape Glory on the outside, making a 4-wide move, and the winner is the 5 Guilt Trip, who's on the outside of the horse on the rail, Tucker's Point.
Yeah, you've got two horses that battle around the racetrack together. As they get in the stretch, they draw away from the field by 5 lengths, and they do it, A, because they're two of the better horses in the race, but also B, because they had a huge pace advantage. And Cape Glory finishes 4th in this race, but who knows what it would have been like if he had broken cleanly in a race that was a fairly run race. He might have been good enough to win. He has had a lot of chances, though, Eric.
Has had a lot of chances. I got to think if he broke cleanly, he'd probably be, maybe a 3-way battle, or maybe Guilt Trip sits just a little bit off them and wins a little bit easier. I'm not sure, but he definitely would have finished closer than the 6 1/4 lengths that he finished behind the winner.
I'll tell you something. I don't want Tucker's Point going forward out of this race because the rail was the place to be on Wednesday and Thursday, and he set those slow paces and still lost to that horse from Chad Brown. I'm not saying he ran badly, but he was supposed to win this race, and I said having liked him in there, I don't get absolutely no excuse in this race, and he's a horse I wanted. I hope Tucker's Point and Cape Glory hook up again. I would take Cape Glory every time.
All right, we'll take a look at another race from a good rail day. This is the 5th race from September 27th. Bit of Moon, Centrique, and World Premiere, and a 30-25 claimer for fillies and mares.
We're not necessarily suggesting you bet any horse out of here, though Bit of Moon might be the one that I would want here. But we wanted to show a race from last Thursday, the 27th, just to talk a little bit about the rail. The 7 is in light blue on the outside. That's Centrique, the eventual winner. The 6 horse is Bit of Moon, runs second. The 8 back here, who probably had the toughest trip, was World Premiere. But it's just a good example of how strong that rail was, Eric.
And you get a good example of how attuned Ramon Dominguez is to the way the track is playing, as Centrique, who was set up in about the 3 or 4 path early on, is now being angled over down to the inside by her.
I agree, and I think Javier Castellano is right behind him now with World Premiere. Was kind of aware of that. Here's Centrique, here's World Premiere with Javier, and here's Bit of Moon back here. And Bit of Moon actually ran okay, all things considered, because he was relevant, never inside the 3 path. Javier ends up having to go outside. Ramon sort of waits behind horses in like the 2 path, trying to give himself options inside out. He realizes that hole opens the stretch. Man, he blows through it. Javier, who circles wide, you're going to see it. He sees Ramon is coming to the inside. He tries to get his horse over to get onto the rail. He can't get there in time. I almost feel like he was playing Gallop Racer when they got in the stretch, and there's Bit of Moon. When you see that horse coming, you're going towards him. Because Javier knew, I think he realized that he was really in a tough spot here. There's Ramon waiting towards the inside. He gets through in that gold rail, and it is over, baby.
And, World Premiere is actually going to get, look like get the lead here for a split second, and Ramon just looks over and says, I'm inside. You're not going to beat me, and then that was it. Ramon just hand rides down to the wire here.
Yeah, and I think that World Premiere lost because he made that wide move at that point, and Bit of Moon was wide also the whole way. He runs him down. That Bit of Moon actually ran okay in here as he was dropping down significantly. To me, what you get out of this race, I just want to show an example and look for races, the dirt races from the 27th, horses on the rail, and downgrade them. The horse you don't want going forward is Centrique. She is really dressed up off 2 very facile wins, and she's not as good as she looks off those 2 races. Though John Paracel, our friend, has done pretty well with her. I just think she's dressed up.
And he is on a good roll right now.
Yes, he's on a monster roll.
All right, we'll get to a couple of stakes now from the weekend. We'll take a look at the Flower Bowl for fillies and mares, going 1.25 miles on the turf. Some trouble here around the top of the stretch, but the race really develops, kind of interestingly here, and I think that had some kind of outcome in the finish.
Well, the 4 horse in here, I'm a Dreamer, who's probably the best horse, breaks a little bit slowly. She ends up getting a good tuck in here. The 8 Narain, you'll watch this race. Narain never gets a comfortable spot. She's sitting a good 2-3 wide, pretty much 3 wide the entire way around, pretty much in the clear. So I actually think Narain ran really well in here to win this race, and you're going to see an instant top of the stretch. Some people thought that she bumped into Dream Piece. There was an inquiry. Eric and I don't. You're going to eventually see Hessenite, the New York bred, get herself in trouble inside. She kind of overcommitted the inside, got bounced around by the 6 horse Busy Carolina. She came back on and beat. Right now, Hessenite is there. You've got the 8, the eventual winner, Narain, there. You've got the 1 Dream Piece there, and back here is the 4, I'm a Dreamer. And those Euros towards the back, they're the ones ones who get in the picture later. Segura makes the earlier move. She actually ran pretty well, too. To be perfectly honest, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, and even 5 Hessenite all ran pretty well in here, Eric.
I think they did. The question for me with a lot of them is what goes on next with them. Where do they go? I mean, Hessenite could, drop back into a New York bred race and be very dangerous as a heavy favorite. The other horses, are they good enough to win a race like the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf?
Not if good Europeans show up. But the one I would want the most is I'm a Dreamer, to be honest. I might want Segura after that. I don't want Dream Piece, who I really thought hung. I think of all those horses we mentioned, Dream Piece had the best trip of all. I know she got bumped a little top of the stretch, Eric. I thought she had a very good trip. You see her back here sitting comfortably. I'm a Dreamer's in a good spot back here as well. Narain, she's out there. I don't think I thought she really ran hard pretty much every step of the way. She was always in it. Now, you're going to see Hessenite down the inside, and you can always watch those blue silks. She's going to end up trying to go inside of the 6-horse here, Busy Caroline. I don't know that she really had the room. And one thing we know, David Cohen doesn't let anybody come inside of him if he can possibly help it.
No, he doesn't. But, this was kind of the spot that Hessenite was in the whole time, so it wasn't, I don't know. I can't really fault the rider there. It's just one of those things in races where things get bunched up at the top of the stretch, and it ain't really no one's fault here. The other interesting thing here was, though, at first when I watched it, I saw the one Dream Piece. Looks like her hind end slips out from her right there, and she turns from home. I thought that Narain had bumped her possibly, but watching the head-on, I didn't see any contact at all.
No, we're going to show you that when we're finished with that. And Eric and I feel similarly. I mean, I think that's an illusion that a lot of people had, and there were people crying, oh, they should have taken Narain down. And the usual, the whole world apparently bet on the 1 and should have qualified the 8. And it's just the films don't bear it out. They just don't bear it out. We don't have a blimp shot, so you can't see that. But there's nothing in the film, and people just want to say, and you're going to see them out here. There's the 8. There's the 8 right there. The one's behind her, that's Segura, so forget about that one. That's the 8 right there. There's the one behind her. Down in the rail is Hessenite. We're going to turn the corner, and you're going to have to watch pretty carefully, and we're going to try to get them exactly as the braid. The 8 is in yellow. The 1 is behind her in the white. Down the rail is Hessenite. Hessenite almost gets knocked over, frankly. She gets it really, really tight. She gets shuffled back after that and has to come around and runs down Busy Caroline. But here's the break point right there. We cannot see any contact. You can watch it there. Watch it. There's no contact. And the stewards looked at it over and over again, and there was no feeling that there was any contact. So you can only go with what you see. Didn't see any contact. Good race, good horses.
Good horses, and I think you're right about Narain because at a point in mid-stretch there, I thought she was beaten. I said, well, there's really no way she's going to win. Either a Dreamer's going to come up the inside, or Segura's going to win.
Went down the inside.
No, I didn't like that either. But I thought just the momentum that she appeared that she would have, before making that move. Sure. So maybe a feather in the cap for Narain, and maybe others, downgrade a little bit.
I like that Segura put herself in the game, and everybody else was closing, and she hung tough in there at a mile and a quarter, which is probably stretching it for her, and showed she could win, especially if she got a firmer turf. I don't like the way Dream Piece hung. She's the one I really want the least out of this. So now you're splitting hairs a little bit, but hey, it's horse racing. You're going to have to make some opinions. You want to use them all going to the Breeders' Cup, and we'll see who the new faces are.
All right, we'll take a look at one more race. This is the Futurity going 6 furlongs on September 30th, race number 9. Taking a look at Gulfport and Overanalyze, who get a little bit in trouble at the start here. And I think it might be because of the 5 Handsome Jack kind of comes in a little bit and they shy away.
I agree. First of all, Gulfport will come in and will bounce into the 2. The 5 will come in from there, forces Overanalyze in, who bumps Gulfport. It's not Overanalyze's fault. He was fouled by the 5 in there, no question about it. Gulfport. Now, as we'll go back to the pan shot, and you're going to watch them come out of the break. And I think it's a tale of 2 situations where you'll watch these horses steady back here, okay? I think afterwards, both riders are asking their horse to get into rhythm, but Johnny will end up relaxing a little bit on Overanalyze, who eventually wins the race. Whereas I felt like maybe Gulfport was urged a little bit too much here. And what happens is Overanalyze ends up settling in the back, and sometimes these horses get their adrenaline going. They can't be controlled. And now Javier's got just an absolute handful with Gulfport, and he can't seem to get him settled, or he doesn't give him a chance to settle. Instead, he ends up making this 4 wide, rush-up move. Not saying it's his fault. Maybe the horse, a young horse, took off on him. But Gulfport he had no chance with this trip.
He had no chance in this trip. He runs great in here, and that big little move after the trouble at the start, too. You just wonder with him, though, what's going to happen next. He's a maiden. Does Dale decide to run a mistake again? Does he put him back in a special weight where he'd be, 3 to 5 or less, probably?
Yeah, well, okay. There's Gulfport out there. You've been following him. Overanalyze has made his run to get in the picture. You're going to see him run the field out. I'm laughing because Dale likes stake races, Dale Romans. He's a maiden. There's a long career ahead of Gulfport. He's a really good horse. It's not my horse. If he was my horse, I've been looking to break his maiden on the dirt here at Belmont before the meet ended. If after that Dale wants to take a shot in a race like the Remsen or the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill Downs, that might make sense. And get ready for 3-year-old year because, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to knock Overanalyze, who ran very well in here and showed a new dimension. I'm not trying to dismiss him completely because if he continues with the kind of race he ran here, he could be okay too. Sure. But from Gulfport standpoint, I think he's the kind of horse you want to give him time and get him ready for next year because that's when the real races matter. And we've seen Dale Romans be a factor in these Triple Crown races, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think you want to send him into too many more stakes without at least having the confidence build over maiden underneath him. You know, something else goes wrong in another stakes race and his head's all messed up and, you know, it might not turn out to be the horse that you thought he could be. So, you know, both horses have a good future. I think Overanalyze really improved in this race as well. Seems like he's, you know, going in the right direction. We'll see what they decide to do with him.
Yeah, no, definitely. This was a terrific effort by him. Gulfport's the horse, though, that's under the radar that I really want going forward. What we also want is help from you, trips and traps at NYRAinc.com.
Thanks for watching.